But yes, there are a lot of opportunities, and it's the only one niche is sales, but you can actually do the same with onboarding the users. The chatbot can be your website at the end of the day, and I imagine in 10 or 15 years we're gonna have chatbot, we're gonna have websites where you have a button at the top right corner. You just click
Mhm.
on it, and you can actually talk to the website instead of browsing.
This is sponsored by the GTM AI Academy and AI powered GTM, where we bring you insights, interviews, and all the latest knowledge needed to thrive with go to market and AI. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It is I, Coach K, and today I am very pleased to say that I am joined by Eldar Agayev with Hatchly AI,
Yeah.
which I'm super excited to talk to you. How are you, my friend?
Hey, John, I'm good. Thanks a lot for inviting. I'm super excited as well to
Of
talk through
course.
AI and sales and everything you want to.
And you're over in London, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
Cool. You poor guy. You're like a little bit late. We're early here, but late there, which is great. But
yeah,
thanks so much for joining me. Pleasure to have you on the show. So before we deep dive into the podcast and talk about your tech and AI stuff, I want to talk about you. So we
yeah.
were talking before the call how you have a software background, but if you don't mind running me through, and I like to say to people, tell me the story that's not on LinkedIn. Give me the short synopsis of you, where you came from, and how the heck you got to be where you are now.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been building businesses since the age of 16. I was trying to build some cool stuff. I started with I think it was. Do you know the game Counter Strike?
Huh? Yeah, I love Counter
So
Strike. Yeah.
yeah, I started with building a service for Counter Strike, and I was charging people for like premium features and stuff. So
What?
it was back in Ukraine. I started building that, and then at the age of 16, I started doing some like, testing out different business ideas. I moved to UK, so I started studying here, and then I got into Warwick University in the UK. I started learning computer science and business, and yeah, that's when I realized that I'm probably going to go straight to building something cool rather than the usual way of getting a job or learning something. And that's when ChatGPT came out because I just graduated last year. So it came
Mhm.
out. I realized everything now needs to be 10 times faster. The building, the progress, everything, the learning. Yeah, that's small glimpse on my story, what I've been up to since the age of 16.
Serial entrepreneur, I love it. So now you're with Hatchly. So I know I saw before you were with the Mind Explorer AI before you were founded, then you startup program participant at the University of Warwick, and now
Yeah,
obviously with Hatchly. Tell me of
yeah,
all the things you could have done with software, because there's a lot of options. Why Hatchly? Why? And then, if you
sure.
don't mind, tell me about what Hatchly is, and then tell me why this is the thing you chose.
Yeah, so Hatchly is an AI conversational marketing platform. We help businesses to generate more sales from their website by engaging every visitor with context-aware messaging. It sounds complicated, but it's super simple. We ultimately make the experience for visitors better. So they want to
Mhm.
chat and they want to talk to you, but they first talk to our AI. We validated their actual customer for you, and then they schedule a call with the team. So
Yeah.
how I came up with that idea is I started building when I think it was 17 or 18. I started building chatbots in Telegram. So I started building chatbots before ChatGPT was even discussed anywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I realized there are a lot of things that you can do with chatbot interface that you never did before. So you can actually in Telegram there are chatbots that you can use for booking
Right.
a taxi. You can use it for watching movies. You can use it for like a dating app. So there is a
Mhm.
lot of functionality inside of chatbots on Telegram. So I started exploring that niche. I actually built it around 15 different chatbots. I got about a million and 100,000 users in them. And then I
Wow.
realized, okay, I know something and I can probably do similar things in B2B world. And that's how I came up with Hatchly because we have a huge opportunity with AI and a lot of providers that provide it almost for free. And then we can use that with my experience on user experience inside chatbots to make the ultimate chatbot experience much better than any other chatbot on the market.
I love it, man. It's cool to hear that your experience with there. Tell me, for those people who are unaware of this because they may not be the most intimate with chatbots. Tell me the difference between a normal chatbot pre AI and now post AI. What's the difference between the two besides just being is it more conversational, better context? Like what's the main difference?
Yeah, I think before AI chatbots were ultimately size with no interface. So you can put the information there, you can add buttons, people click on buttons, see information, but that's ultimately it, right? It can connect you to a human, and usually that's what customer support chatbots do. When AI came out, everything changed because now AI can understand the context. So what page, for example, the user is on, it can understand what they're looking at. It can understand what their user wants based on what they're writing in the chat. It can route to different directions, and it can actually manage the whole conversation on its own without the need of someone else creating the flows inside the chatbot. So, for example, in our case, you can deploy the chatbot in 15 minutes, and you don't need to set up different conversation routes or different messaging. AI will generate it on the go based on user and specific user parameters. Yeah,
That's awesome. I love it. So, if you don't mind, like the goal of the podcast is to talk about business impact over learning tools or having a cool tech or whatever. Because obviously, the whole point of any tech is hopefully to make business better, faster, easier, more proficient, or whatever. Right.
sure.
So, if you
Yeah,
don't mind, do you have an example with a company that you have employed the chatbot? What? Let me give an example. Like I know of a test study they did with, I think it was Klarna, who did their own chatbot launch. I don't know if you read the article, but it's fascinating. And they, because of their chatbot, they eliminated a ton of customer service stuff, so
yeah,
that a lot of it's being offloaded to the AI.
yeah.
And it's a really, really cool case study of how powerful it is from a customer service point. But from your view, like what applications are there to chatbots? Is it just customer service or is there other areas you can employ that people just don't because they don't know how?
That's a great question because we actually see a lot of application of chatbots in customer service, but nowhere else. So in sales, for example, there are a few companies that build sales chatbots, but they usually enterprise aimed. So the chatbots are for enterprise. They have a long sales cycle, and they just sometimes they don't even using AI properly. And now we have an ability to use much more advanced AI capabilities to actually drive sales through the chatbot. But yes, there are a lot of opportunities, and it's the only one niche is sales, but you can actually do the same with onboarding the users. The chatbot can be your website at the end of the day, and I imagine in 10 or 15 years we're gonna have chatbot, gonna have websites where you have a button at the top right corner. You just click
Uh-huh.
on it, and you can actually talk to the website instead of browsing. So you can actually talk and ask,
Um,
okay, I want to find an article about X. Can you tell me, do you have an article about something like, and it will find an article, it will read it aloud to you, and it will ask if you want to schedule a meeting with someone from the team. That's what we're building as well inside. And I think we're gonna have a demo functionality on our website that you can actually talk to it. You don't need to browse it, you don't need to search the
that's cool.
information, you just talk to the website. So yeah, there are a lot of use cases. And I think if you're being creative, you can find even more because the chatbot is just an interface. It's not
Right.
doesn't mean that it's just a way of talking to software. You have an app on an iPhone. That's also a way to talk to the software. You have a
Right.
website and you have a chatbot. So in our case, we just use chat to make it super easy to find something. And there are specific use cases when, for example, you want to ask a question. Best way of asking the question is through the chat because something on the either it's AI or human will find an answer to your question and give it back to you, and you can follow up on that question. So that's the best use case for a chatbot. But there are other use cases as well as I just mentioned. But yeah, I think there are going to be a lot more use cases in the future that there are now.
How do you my thought with this is I've used chatbots a lot from a customer point of view. And so there's been times where I get really frustrated because like it limits what responses you can do to make sure you go down a certain
Yeah,
path of conversation. And you're like, I just want to get this problem fixed. Just shut up and let me talk to a human because they can actually get this done faster. How do you balance those two sides of because there are a lot of things where people ask questions that could be done automated because they're just basic questions. So how do you balance between making sure the good customer service is there with an AI that can fulfill the requests intelligently and in a good, positive experience versus being too frustrating for someone saying, "Just let me talk to a freaking human." Like, how do you balance those 2
yeah.
things?
Yeah, so we actually focus mostly on sales. So that's how we balance it. We try not to
Yeah.
answer customer related questions, but we have capabilities to answer prospects questions about the business. So we scan, for example, the whole website where you can add custom knowledge to the chatbot. So we have a lot of knowledge to work with, and then we answer questions based on that knowledge. But I think more importantly here is that the perception of chatbots has changed for about 10 years or 50 years now. Because when you say chatbot, the first things that comes to your mind is it's frustrating, it's hard to use, it's super
Right.
bad, and I just don't want to have anything with chatbots. I just don't want to touch them. And we try to change that because in our chatbots, by design, there are no flows. There is no way you cannot write whatever you want to a chat. We want to make sure that's how we build it. So I think many companies, and I don't think that's a good practice, but what they did, they developed some sort of functionality which that allows users to talk to AI as an like human to human more,
Mhm.
and then business product manager comes from customer side and says, "Oh,
Yeah.
we have a lot of customers who are asking for X. We need a flow for that. I want to have a specific flow." And
Right.
then they start building functionality around flows. They restrict the use of AI, and now it becomes a typical chatbot. It's super boring to use, s- and it's usually unhelpful if you don't have a question in a specific sections of a chatbot, right? And it all depends now again on the human because human needs to update that knowledge, that flow, and everything. So we try to get rid of that. We change the perception of how people use chatbots. And actually, I
Yeah.
have a good example. Yeah, just last week we launched our first pilot chatbot for a company, so a big development agency, and they are building. So they help other enterprise companies to build things, right? And we launched a chatbot on their website, and we got an enterprise client lead prospect submitting data into a chatbot and ending up making a contract for $65,000, which is an example of when chatbots can actually
Cool.
make you money, right? It's not about always solving customer problems. They can actually get you more leads from your website. And yeah, so I think well, in the near future, we will change the perception of how people think about chatbots. And we will also change the way you interact with the website, hopefully.
I think that's how, at least that's probably all my experience has been too, has been more from a reactive question answer type thing. But in your case, like being able to actually drive sales, there's not a lot of applications. I know there's people who attempt those kind of things. There's not a lot of application where the chatbot actually sells, which goes into the place of, okay, I have a bunch of follow up questions for you, but here's one,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is there's always this thing between can AI replace a salesperson because salespeople aren't exactly cheap, but they also make a lot more money. They 10 times their any salary you're going to give them, right? Do you see a world where someone's being replaced because of it? Or is it more like people coming to the website, they're there anyways. It's not an interaction that's taken away from sales. It's additional stuff you wouldn't have had before. Like, how do you view that?
I think it's both. It will replace people who are doing some super basic stuff. So just
Yeah.
replying on sitting on the website and replying the whole day, that's not good job to have. We probably will replace that, and AI is replacing that people. But I think being a salesperson in the next 10 years will change as well. So
Yeah.
what you do, and it will probably be a more personalized experience for sales, even if you
Mhm.
don't have, if you, even if you don't sell enterprise size products, but it's still gonna be changing a lot. So I think we just give you more leads, so there's more things to work with and we don't actually close this. So you need to jump on the call and actually talk to a prospect
Yeah.
and sell to them. But we drive more these prospects from where they were just browsing the website. They weren't sure if they're going to submit a form, but they saw a pop up from a chatbot that actually super personalized because they were reading about the topic X. They open a chatbot, they ask a few questions. They finally made a submission and scheduled a call, and then you close it. The customer now has much more context. It asks already questions to the chatbot, and a salesperson can actually see on which page what questions were asked and can follow up on those. So I
Right.
think that's just an increase in the amount of leads that you will work with. And it was also increasing the efficiency of a salesperson. They can actually focus on selling rather than sitting and answering questions to people who will never buy.
Yeah, I've had the same thought when it comes down to it, because if you look outside of AI and outside of sales just for a second, look at the customer journey as a whole. In the last couple of years, there's been a big shift in how things work. Like the usual customer, I should say, the sales process is like discovery, demo, proposal, negotiation, something closed, whatever. That's the usual
Yeah.
standard process. And what I'm seeing more and more is that customers are tired of that because, like me as a buyer, I hate going through a discovery call and have to schedule another call, do something else. I'm like, I just have some questions I see the answers. So I see the world happening where AI can take over a lot of the first part of the funnel and first part of the sales process. And then when someone actually does talk to a human, they're way farther advanced in the sales process, and the human's really there to close and answer any advanced questions that for whatever reason an AI can't answer, and
Yeah.
really build that relationship. So then the salesperson's responsibility is super narrow and very targeted versus how broad it is now, because the skill set that's required now for a full cycle AE is crazy. So if an AI can help automate that, I think it's really powerful. Do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Completely agree because I think when first was building that, I was thinking from the perspective of end user. So I was thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to ask questions to many of the companies that I see and browse the websites. I don't want to have a
Right.
chat. I don't want to schedule a call until I know simple answers to simple questions, right? I just
Right.
want to see if you work with a specific integration or if you do specific things that I really need to. And there is no need for a discovery call for me to ask a few questions for that. But yeah,
Right.
I agree. I think that's the sales this way of selling is also changing a little bit. As soon as more companies will employ sales chatbots, not customer support chatbots that they usually have right now, but an actual sales chatbot that can drive prospects from a visitor to a lead, then a lot of things will change. And I think visitors will prefer companies that have chatbots because they already know the information. And at the end
Mhm.
of the day, if they have some sort of things that they need in a solution, and if they find an answer
Yep.
quickly that you actually provide that, they will more likely to schedule a call with you and actually choose your software as a choice or your product, yeah, to buy.
Yeah, the concept you said earlier about chatting with a website is fascinating because that's not usually how you think about a chatbot. It's more of random questions that aren't always helpful, which is weird that you have a chatbot that doesn't really help, but that's usually what I think about it. Question for you for those, because people listening to this are anywhere from startup founders with people of 30 people or less up to 10,000 plus organizations. Do you see applications on all spectrums of it, from small teams to massive teams? Like, is there any limit to what a chatbot can do as far as the complexity of the deal?
Yeah, I think overall the cost of software will go down dramatically because of AI. So for the organization will be smaller in the future, I think. And also AI will work for any sort of organization because it helps any if you're for
Yeah.
example, I'm a one person company almost. But I have a chatbot that helps me answer any prospect questions. I have an AI that answers my emails or sends them to spam if it's a cold email. I have AI on every front that to help me optimize my schedule and my time. So yes, I
Mhm.
think AI for scheduling more leads and getting you more revenue will help any company of any size. If you, especially if you're a small company and you don't have time and resources to sit on the website and in the first 10 seconds to reply to someone who messages you.
Right.
So yeah, we try to be self-serve, so you can actually go on our website, and in 15 minutes you have a sales chatbot that is trained on your website. And I think that's how the software should be. You should be able to try it out in 15 to 30 minutes, and then if you want to have more customization, you can actually go ahead and do that. Yeah, I think that
Mhm.
it will work for large organization and small ones as well.
When you have part of this is about context, right? So with your if a company has files and files and tons of products, like it gets complex pretty quickly. How do you approach the AI or the chatbots access to that content that may be massive without capping out on its context window? Like, how do you do that?
So we use special technique called RAG, retrieval augmented generation, which is used for getting accessing the knowledge based on the database. But I'm not going to go into specifics. But ultimately, we try to limit the context window, and we there are applications that help us do that. and we can just access no matter how big your knowledge base is. And usually it's not that big for AI. It's for us that could be
Yeah.
big, but if your knowledge base is approximately, let's say, 600 pages of, like 600 book pages, that's it's a lot of knowledge, and obviously a human wouldn't be able to learn everything, but AI can easily find whatever information that the customer is asking for in this 600 pages of information. And that's usually more than enough, especially for a sales chatbot. Again, we don't usually prospects, they don't have hard questions. They have simple questions because they were too lazy to browse the website to a specific page. So they just want
Nice.
to find out the answer quickly. And that's what I do. When I see a chatbot and I see that it has an AI, I just go ahead and ask it because I want to find an answer quicker. And
Mm.
unfortunately, it's really small percentage of websites offer that, but yeah, it's usually super simple questions.
Do you see a world where, like, I saw this one thing where this website offered this service where they had a human man this portal, part of their chat, that someone could hop into a digital sales room at any time and, like, literally ask someone questions or get a demo live or that kind of stuff. Do you see a world where the chatbots transform into that, like, kind of avatar where they can do the same thing you're doing via chat, but now it's via video or audio or whatever other experience, and then show a demo and do some advanced stuff? You ever see that?
Yeah, I think that's not really possible to have right now because of limitations. But I think, like, technical limitations, but they will go away in a year or two. So that's not a problem at all. I think
I
that
know
will
things move
happen.
fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that will happen for sure. And I think that's going to be a separate category of chatbots called onboarding chatbots. And they will actually, once you go through the AI sales agent, you then go to AI onboarding agent, which with a video and screen sharing can actually see what you're doing on the website and can guide you to specific sections of the website or
crazy,
the portal. So it's gonna be
crazy.
something like that. And the only thing you need, and then click on specific buttons. But I think in the next 15 years, we will get rid of all sort of interfaces like that. And it's just
Mhm.
going to be a chat interface with voice. And that's it. So anything that we do right now, we can actually do it using, if we have a specific um, integrations, we can use it in chat, anything from watching videos. So
Cool.
we can have Netflix in a chat, right? Why not? We can actually have it. You can search something, it will give you a gallery of videos, and then you can click on the video, it opens a video, and you watch a video. You can do the same with, I don't know, Salesforce or other software. You can actually ask it to do something, but it will do it 50 times or 100 times quicker than you would do it with a normal
Right.
interface. But yeah, I think a lot of things will change in the future.
So I have 2 questions. I'm gonna start with the first one, which is, what is something you're excited about or maybe looking forward to be able developing besides an avatar-based chatbot? Like, what are some things you're like, "I'm really excited to do this in the next 6 months or something." What's on your own roadmap you're, looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm excited to see more solutions in agent space, and
Mhm.
specifically agents that actually are not trying to achieve something that they're not capable of right now, but they are pretty good at stuff and that they're doing. So for example, I'll give you an example. With a tool that we're building right now, we're not good at selling online, right? We can't sell through the chat a product that costs $60,000. We
Right.
we just can't do that, and I will not attempt to do that right now. But I think in a 5 years time, we can actually try to do that. But we're trying to do everything to the best of our ability. So I'm excited to see agents that are, for example, I have an agent checks my emails, and if it sees a cold email, it actually sends a message, "Hey, I know this is a cold email. I don't actually check cold emails, but you can submit it to my Google Sheet, and I'll review it once a week. And if I am interested, I will email you back. But if you reply to this email, unfortunately, I will send you to spam." And it will actually stop 90% of spam to my email, because people know
Uh-huh.
that when they messaging me, I'll send them to spam if they try to message me again after I said that I'm not interested. So
Right.
this is, for example, an agent that helps me to
Hmm.
control the amount of data I'm getting into my mind so that I'm more efficient. But also there are a lot of more agents like with outbound, as well as content creation. There are so many tools to be developed in a lot of spaces that
Hmm.
will make your life so much easier and more efficient. And it will be more enjoyable because you will do whatever you want to. So yeah, for example, I'm using AI to develop my startup. And I don't know if I haven't had I would probably be at the MVP stage right now with no software or like a really limited amount of software. Because of AI, I'm able to work as usually five engineers working. And that's all because of AI. So I'm doing more things and I'm doing whatever I like to do. Actually, I like to do, not whatever I need to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is exciting things.
Do you see the ex Google CEO had a chat, which has been lighting up a bunch of people I've been seeing lately, and I watched it. It was fascinating. And one of the things he talked about was right now we have text to video, text to audio, text to whatever, or video to audio, or it takes one
Yeah.
of these forms and changes something else to another content type. But he was talking about a text to action to where it goes, you have agents who will then do certain actions, not just an output of content. Do you see a world where agents, like what you're talking about, chatbot will be an agent like that, where it'll be like a text to action of on some level like that?
Yeah, it's already happening. I think
Yeah.
we have text to action. Many other chatbots have text to action already. And we,
Can you give me an example of what that look like?
yeah. So, for example, if you're in a chatbot and you're messaging, asking questions, and the chatbot offers to schedule a call, and you provide your details, it will actually go open a Calendly for you as a pop-up on your screen, and you will then be able to choose a time on Calendly to schedule a
Mhm.
time. But it will also send an email to you or whatever you like because it connects with. That's a super simple example of text to
Right.
action. But there are examples like you write a post and then once you say it, post it on LinkedIn, it just connects to LinkedIn API and does that. What I think will happen in the future, it will actually, so I don't know if you're familiar with APIs, but so it will actually, because right now you need documentation and you actually need a person to write that API and make it work and test it. But I think in the future, AI will scan the documentation of available APIs and will write it for your agent. So you don't need actually to do that. And then it will be super easy to
Mhm.
convert any app into an agent. So Google Analytics has API. We can go ahead and wrap the whole API into an agent and actually just send messages and it will output back the data that we need to show to the user. So this sort of actions, I think, will be more popular in the future. But again, they are already deployed in various applications right now. Yeah. So yeah, that's also super exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of application when it comes to action. There's the simple things, which to me, like getting a Calendly up is basic and simple.
Yeah.
Then there's the more advanced stuff as you get to multi-agent automation workflows that go to some sort of action, which is a fascinating conversation to have.
Oh yeah.
Do you see a place where, and I'm gonna ask 2 more questions, so this is one of them. In your chatbots, do you leverage different models? So like you have a ChatGPT chatbot talking to a Claude chatbot, then it talks to somebody else that has a different access, or do you use one model? Or how do you approach that
Yeah.
side of.
So I think multi-agent frameworks are the future, but not now. They are still super expensive to run and they are unreliable. So
Yeah.
it is much better to optimize one model rather than using multi-agents and try to optimize that. But I see in the future, I think multi-agents will be the application we're talking about. So when you're talking to, you can have a business AI business CEO of the company, which
Mhm.
has accesses to analyst agent, which has access to Google Analytics agent and Posthog agent and the Facebook ads agent and so on. So they're gonna be organizations of agents with specific actions. And each agent is going to another agent, and then just the field agents are going to have access to APIs of different tools, but our
Yep.
other agents are going to be like managers. And then you will be able to talk to one big agent, CEO of the company, and it will send a lot of requests, and other agents will send a request. But right now, that's super expensive and also it's quite time consuming. But I think in the future, once we have a quicker AI and once we have it cheaper, it will be very possible to do.
Yeah, it's crazy to seeing how much cost, like even with the 4.0 mini release and some other stuff when it has cheaper than 3.5, but better responses. Like, it's crazy the world we're going in where a lot of the costs are going down to we have really cool tech. And then the only real limitation is just what are you going to create? It's not so much
Yeah.
what it's capable of, it's how you're going to apply it, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
Let me end with one last question. That would be the if you have a specific example from a customer of actual business impact or results where they actually sold something. Can you tell me like one of your customer stories, like how someone actually used it to do what we're talking about, actually have sales come through?
Yeah, sure. So the one that I mentioned already about the enterprise that was sold, the contract,
Mhm.
but there are more with products of average contract value of about 6 to 8 thousand pounds, so about
Mm.
$10,000,
Okay.
and they are so they sell it through the website. It's I can't disclose it, but it's B2C
Yep.
business, but they sell a product that it costs about average contract value of about $10,000. They had
Cool.
a different chatbot like a HubSpot before. They were using that HubSpot chatbot, and then it was answering questions. They had a few humans. They had an AI that was answering questions, but it didn't actually lead to anything. You can answer questions, but what will happen? If I get an answer, I can just leave the website. But if I know the chatbot can actually schedule me a meeting, send me a lead magnet, or send me something interesting, or subscribe me to a newsletter, that I would actually provide that information to a chatbot. So we implemented our chatbots in about an hour. It didn't take long. And yeah, in the first months, we got, I don't know, we generated a pipeline of probably like 50 or $60,000
That's
for them.
awesome.
And they didn't have a lot of traffic. They just had, I don't know, I think it was 6,000 visitors. And because we have pricing based on how many visitors you have. So they were paying us a few $100, and we were generating them quite a lot of money. So that's a very
That's
good
awesome.
return on investment. And there are more cases like that. So if you sell a product that makes you about $5,000 to $10,000, or even we start with $1,000, it will work for you in almost any industry. And I think what we're doing right now is expanding to more B2C service-based businesses like dentists or
Yeah, cool.
something like that. So I
Yeah.
think that will work there as well.
Yeah, I know people listening to this, there's a variety of people going from all sorts of tech and stuff, but everyone has a website and everyone wants
Yeah.
more ability to capture stuff. So I think it's awesome. I just want to tell you, Eldar, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a blast. Your website is HACHLYAI.com, Hatchley.com. I'll put it in, oh, sorry, HatchleyAI.com. I
Yep.
will put the link inside of the show notes, make sure I blast you everywhere. I just want to tell you, thank you so much. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you?
LinkedIn. Yeah. Just find me
Cool.
on LinkedIn, Elder Gav, and let me know what you need. We'll find a way to do that.
We'll figure it out. I love it. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully by the time this comes out, I'll have the chatbot on my website too, and people want to test it out. Let's go over to
Yeah.
the academy and let's just check it out. That'd be cool.
Yes.
So,
Sure. Of course.
I just want to say thank you. Been a pleasure, and you're the man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jonathan. Great.
Thanks for listening to the GTM AI podcast. Please follow, subscribe, like, comment, and come back for more.